In her current state, there's a lot of disconnects with her gameplay design, and it's so unfortunate since she has such a badass design. And with her thrown into standard banners starting 3.6, there's no rush if you're not sure if you want Dehya. I personally won't max Constellation her right away, it'll happen over time. Her weapon on the other hand may or may not return after this banner, so Godspeed if you want to pick up her crit rate claymore.
It's horrible. It's horrible. Why would miHoYo do this to our queen? Our Eremite queen here. She deserves so much better. So, I'm so confused by this balancing. Like, we get monsters like Ayaka. I mean, even Alhaitham's burst does as much damage, and he's not even a burst-dependent character. Right? Like, he can be played as an on-field carry doing a ton of spread damage with his 3 mirror procs. I think like just 2 to 3 waves of 3 mirror procs from Alhaitham does more damage than Dehya's burst. And he can do like 6 plus of those, plus his burst, plus all his normal attacks too. Dehya, no. Her whole kit revolves just punching 10 times and slamming, and it does 1/3 the damage as Ayaka does.
And then boom, boom, boom. Yeah, so this damage is not great. You know, this damage is not great, but yeah, that's that's just, you know, that's just that. It does feel bad. I am a person that really wanted her to be super good. Reason being, I love characters that fight with their fists like Hazo, and I was really hoping that Beidou would be the character that fights with her fists, because Dehya is also very similar to Beidou. They're both claymore characters. I feel like the personalities are similar. Their designs are kind of similar. They're both badass characters. I hope that Beidou will fight with her fists one day, because canonically speaking, she took down the sea beast with her fists. Dehya's fighting style is honestly one I am a very big fan of, and I'm a little bit sad that she's not really strong. But I think, and I'm being optimistic, there is potential for her to be very useful in the future.
Kit overall doesn't feel too cohesive. Like, her burst really is only 4 seconds long, and also will remove the resistance interruption from your skill because it like picks up your skill, which is really weird. And so if you're building just for your burst and stacking burst damage with like the emblem set, then you lose out on a lot of value from your skill. You don't get Millith, and then if you do Millith and maximize your skill, then you're not using your burst. It's a bit incoherent, and it might require some further testing, but at least as of right now, it does seem like her kit is, generally speaking, for most players, not worth pulling on a limited banner. Pretty underwhelming. Dehya is disappointing. Both as a limited character and as a standard one, her damage is not as high as it should be, as someone who genuinely loves this character, like design wise. With that said, I do want to make it clear that yes, you can use her. She's a standard character. A lot of people are going to end up getting her, and yeah, there are teams like Mono Pyro or Ganyu Melt or others that will cover in my guide coming out soon, where she can be functional and the team will function. Just do keep in mind that oftentimes the other characters will be carrying, like as we covered already, Xiangling Kazuha Bennett will be Xiangling Kazuha Bennett, even if the last slot is no one, but Dehya has some synergy there, being Pyro and getting the buffs from the other characters. She's not completely useless, but she's definitely one of the worst 5-stars we've ever gotten, so keep that in mind. I'm trying to be as like nuanced and reasonable as possible here. Use her if you like her, but not recommended to spend your Primo Gems on.
Listen, if you just play overworld stuff, she's fine. She's good enough. If you care about Abyss, this is probably the worst decision you can make for your account in terms of pull value. And I just really want to be clear about that. She's currently in an unplayable state, and I don't think that anyone should ever pull on a character because they might be good later. I feel like that's what reruns are for. And now, granted, she's not going to have a rerun because they're moving her to standard banner, but I still stand by that. I don't think it's worth pulling a character now because she might be good later. I think you should pull for her if you want her character, if you like Dehya and you just want to play her, whatever, that's fine. But, you know, just be aware that this is probably the lowest value unit in the entire game right now. I would say even the worst 4-stars have more value than Dehya at the moment, and that feels really bad. So first 3-star character, woo!
Alright, so let me summarize my thoughts and experience with using Dehya. If you really wanted to put the work in building her, she has teams where she's usable, but she has issues that prevent her from being a generally recommended unit. Her synergy with a lot of characters feels half-baked, and in some ways, so does the synergy within her kit itself. as a reaction enabler or trigger, her pyro application pales in comparison to other units. As a tanking support, her defensive potential has noticeable limitations. As a pyro DPS, her raw damage multipliers make her damage output underwhelming. As a burgeon trigger, she simply gets outclassed by a 4-star. As a result, it's difficult to find a role that she can excel in, or at least be an above average choice for. Again, she is usable, but that's not saying much. And when you compare her C0 level to other C0 standard banner 5 stars, it's baffling why she couldn't have been better from the start. More so considering how Tignari, as the first added Sumeru standard character, was pretty good even at C0. She'll be a permanent standard character, so eventually there's a chance to get copies of her whether you like it or not. At least her constellations can patch her up in some aspects, but I really think she could have and should have been a better unit even at C0. Personally, if I were still managing my resources to prioritize good units to build, Dehya is somewhere at the bottom of my list. And that's really disappointing because I and others have waited a long time for Dehya, and I really believe that she deserves better.